Hello everybody and welcome back to the Rugby Dummy podcast hosted by me, Mark Flaherty. This is episode 3. We are in the heat of the Lions tour. We now have 2 fixtures in Australia and obviously the pre-fixture game against Argentina. So now we're getting on to game 4 and I'm going to look back at the last 2 fixtures I did not cover, which was against Western Force and Queensland Reds. But I'm going to be looking back as well at the same time as the previous 2 fixtures between the sides in the 2013 Lions tour. So I'm going to be comparing and contrasting. So I'll start with the Western Force game, the one of 2013 that is. So I mean, looking back at the first game the Lions played against Western Force, and not the first game, but the first game I'm going to be looking at from 2013, the last Lions tour before this one in Australia, you can see just like the players that were on that Lions team, that was insane. Like, if you look at the names I'm about to name you here. But the Lions won comfortably enough. They beat Western Force 69 points to 17. Similarly to this year, but they actually beat them by more back then. But also, if you look at some of the legends on this team, it just makes sense, doesn't it? So, number 1, you had Cian Healy. Number 2, Rory Best. Number 3, Dan Cole. Number 4, Ian Heaney, I was about to say. Ian Evans. Number 5, Alwyn Jones. Number 6, Tom Croft. Number 7, Sean O'Brien. Number 8, Jamie Heaslip. What a pack that is. A lot heavier, or a heavier Irish contingent than I remember, really. Granted, I've very little memory of that tour, bits and pieces. You know, I was quite young, wasn't as into rugby yet. But then in the backs, you had Conor Murray and Jonathan Sexton. Golden pairing, by the way. Then you had 11 George North, 12 Manu Tuolangi, 13 Brian O'Driscoll, 14 Tommy Bowe, and 15 Lee Halfpenny. That is an insane team, lads. Tuolangi and O'Driscoll as a pairing is crazy work. George North as well, he was class. Sexton and Murray, obviously. That's an insane Lions team. Insane. And then the replacements you had, like Sean Maitland, Tom Youngs, Mako Vinapula, Matt Stevens, Jeff Perling, Toby Faletau, Ben Youngs, Owen Farrell. What a team that is, like. Just listen to that. Like, Owen Farrell is just being called up to this current Lions squad, and he was there in 2013. That's extreme longevity. Unfortunately, though, this game is remembered for the tour-ending injury for Cian Healy to his ankle. There was actually a tour-ending injury in this Western Force fixture in 2025 as well, with Thomas Williams, unfortunately, tearing his upper hamstring, or not tearing it, but basically injuring it enough to rule him out for the rest of the tour, which is an extreme pity because he was absolutely unreal in that game, as well as against Argentina, and I think he would have a genuine shot of either getting the 21 jersey or even the starting jersey in a test for the Lions this year. Now, that is one man's, downfall is another man's opportunity with the Lions. I mean, Ben White will hopefully get a chance now, but genuinely, I was so surprised. Not surprised, I knew Thomas Williams was a good player, but I was so surprised to see him just thrive so much in the Lions environment. And it's a real pity we won't get to see more of him on this tour. But yeah, that was the Lions team from 2013. And the game kind of went down as you'd expect. It was actually similar to the Western Force game this year. There was first half scores from Sexton, O'Driscoll and Tom Croft. Insane try as well from O'Driscoll and Sexton. Great tries. So Western Force only scored 3 points in that half. And Cian Healy was injured, I believe, around the 36th minute or so. And that obviously took a while, but that was the end of the tour for him, unfortunately. Lions ran in six other tries. So they scored 9 tries in total, but they scored 6 tries in the second half. Absolutely blew them away. But to be honest, that was actually nowhere near the previous fixture again from that in 2001, where they scored 116 points on them. So if anything, Force are improving every 12 years, or the Lions are getting worse. Take that as you will. 116 points in 2001, 69 in 2013, and I believe it was 52 or so in 2025. So I was just completely wrong actually, because I'm after looking at it, it was 54 points. So they are getting slightly better, although they didn't score as many points themselves this year against them, so maybe they are not improving. But yeah, it was definitely still a misfiring game, because that's how Lions pre-fixtures are, supposed to be. They're supposed to be messy, they're supposed to be janky. The teams are just getting used to each other, that's what happens on Lions tours, you can't expect them to just know everything off by heart at the very start. They have to, be given a chance to gel well together, especially in a system as complicated and convoluted as Farrell's. But some people seem to be forgetting that and thinking the Lions are going to get absolutely obliterated every week, which just isn't true. They may well be beaten by Australia, but in these pre-tour fixtures that are remaining, I can't see them losing one unless they're really, really bad, which I don't think they will be. But yeah, it was, still a game of missed opportunities. There was a few missed on the line and stuff like that. In the 2013 fixture, just, lots of tries went astray. But, they still came away with a very, very impressive win. The tries came from Sexton in the 11th minute. Brian O'Driscoll scored 2 on the 32nd minute and 65th minute. Croft scored on the 40th minute, and Heaslip on the 43rd minute. Venipula on the 51st minute. Tommy Rowe the 58th minute. Farrell on the 67th minute, and Perling on the 76th minute. Farrell actually scored with his first touch at the ball in a great try, and that's just Owen Farrell for you. Hopefully he'll do it similarly in this tour to just annoy people. Just get him on and annoy people. That's why Farrell's been called up, just to piss off people on Twitter. That's what I think. But yeah, that was the 2013 game. There's not really much to say about that at the minute. Now, with the Western Force game in 2025, there's a bit more for me to say. But again, still, it was not the greatest game for Western Force. They were hammered out the gate, really, and that was impressive considering how much the Lions were misfiring in this game. So I'll go through the game, and then I'll give my scores for each player on the day. Maybe some hot takes in that. I guess we'll just have to see as we get onto it. But I'll go through the game first. So the Western Force... Actually, no. I was about to say the Western Force strike first. They definitely did not strike force first. Dan Sheehan did. Dan Sheehan got the first try in the 2nd minute with it just doing Dan Sheehan things, essentially. He just got sent over. He got a great pass from Lowe, which came from a crossfield kick. And from there, Lowe passed it into Sheehan, and bang, between the posts, try time. It was pretty class, to be honest. It was a great try. Sheehan was captain. It was a great day for him. Then Nick White struck back, and the only points it would turn out that Western Force would score, despite them having quite a good few opportunities. White got a good snipe, and yeah, it was a great try overall. Now, the Force got a penalty from Cummins being pinged offside like a few minutes after that, which, again, they didn't capitalise on. Joe McCarthy was excellent in this game. He absolutely dismantled their maul twice, I think, within like 10 minutes there in the first half. And Elliot Daly did not score the next try. Thomas Williams did. And this was unfortunately what ended his Lions tour, actually, making this break on the line with an amazing score for Thomas Williams. Amazing try, which he well deserved because he was very good up until that point. He unfortunately got injured either from the running or something else, and he was taken off very early, and was really unfortunate to see because Thomas Williams is a fantastic player and he was great in this game. As I mentioned already, it's just really unfortunate we won't get to see more of him. Elliot Daly scored the 3rd try, and he powered over basically from 5 metres out. It wasn't, that insane, but what was insane was Finn Russell's quick thinking. They had a quick tap penalty about 20-25 metres out, and Russell made it look like he was going to go into the corner, but instead he quick tapped it, made about 15 metres, 20 metres, quick passed it while he's being tackled into Daly. Unreal try. All from Finn Russell though. Now, this is where the attack wasn't really free-flowing, and also their defence was pretty shocking. Like, Force did not capitalise on it, but there was lots of missed tackles, lots of late tackles by Lions, just out of place movement. Like, Pollock got pinged for being, I believe it was offside, and that was too many penalties conceded in their own 22, and Pollock got the yellow card because of it just before half-time. The Western Force had one more opportunity, but once again, I believe the ball was knocked on or either ripped in the maul. Either way, the Lions went in at half-time, 14 points up, and it was, I wouldn't say it was looking comfortable, but also you just got a feeling that even though they weren't playing great, they were going to power through, which is exactly what they did. So the Force kicked off the second half, and the Lions allowed it to bounce, and Daly nearly coughed it up, but he caught it, and it wasn't the greatest start to the second half, and I know myself I was going, here we go now. Going to be another 40 minutes of squeaky bumming, which it kind of actually was in the end, now thinking about it. But, the Force had an attack in the 22, but then they got pinged back for a neck roll, and the Lions got away with it. And after that, not a whole lot was going on until Thomas Williams. Oh, sorry, I'm an absolute idiot. I thought Thomas Williams got injured in the first half. I was just completely wrong. Thomas Williams got injured in the second half. You know what? I'm going to keep that in because it shows how much of an idiot I am. I'm not going back and changing my mistake. That just shows that my notes are just completely wrong. But Thomas Williams scored the next try for the Lions. Another fantastic try, by the way. So he scored 2 tries in this game. And then he got injured on the 47th minute. That was the game for him. On came Alex Mitchell, which Alex Mitchell was good. But again, it didn't really look all, that impressive for me. Alex Mitchell on the day, like he was fine. It's just I did think Williams was better and would have been a better in the 21 jersey. Now, granted, Mitchell was better in the Queensland Reds game, but I'll get onto that in a while. But yeah, Mitchell comes on, and then there is a try again, quick try again for the Lions through Ringrose, and this is where Hansen made a pretty good break. Hansen had a very, very mixed game, which I will get onto later when I go through the players, but he did a pretty good pass here to Ringrose. Ringrose got a great try, well deserved for him. Then on the 55th minute, Joe McCarthy got a try. So the Lions were really good in this third quarter. They really capitalised. Joe McCarthy got a try, which was well deserved from him, considering he got man of the match. It was well deserved, and he was just class all day. Took this try really well. Yeah, the Force then in the rest of the game really tried to target Hansen because they knew he wasn't fully on it under the high ball, and it worked once or twice. I mean, he spilled that next one on the 56th minute. Yeah, and then the Force really kept trying, but to be honest, it wasn't, like the Force never really looked like scoring, to be honest. They got 80% of the way there a few times and then just bottled it. It was like watching Connacht play the Lions. But yeah, Tuipulotu and Jones. So Jones came on then, and we got to see the Tuipulotu combination for the first time, and they did okay. Tuipulotu did very good. Jones was okay in this game, I felt. Not as good as Ringrose, but I'll get onto that. Ronan Kelleher came on then, which he didn't really do much in this game. Didn't do much wrong, but he didn't really get up to much. I mean, it's not much to do in 12 minutes for a hooker. But yeah, there was, Smith then came on for Finn Russell, so we're really in, we've won the game time here, and we're just bringing players on, and there was no real pressure. So Elliot Daly scored another try. Elliot Daly's been racking up the tries in this tour so far, but well, he's injured now unfortunately, but he was racking up the tries more than Thomas Williams. Maybe it's a bad sign if you score a lot in this Lions tour then, because you'll just get injured in the tour. But yeah, Marcus Smith goes wide, passes to Daly. You know how it goes between the sticks. Yeah. Then there's kind of a minute where nothing really happens with the Lions for 10 minutes. There was Hansen spilled it a few more times, even though it was impressive work rate. Alex Mitchell gets a try after 80 minutes, and your final score is Western Force 7, Lions 54. That's your final score for this game. Not the most impressive game from the Lions, but also the opposition didn't really offer a whole lot, but the Lions were not all that impressive. So I'm going to get on to the player ratings now that I have. So I'll tell you what performance each player gave from me out of 10. There's going to be maybe some controversial ones here, and maybe just some, across the board agreement ones, but I'll just let you know. I suppose the easiest thing would be first to name the 23 that played in that game, because I forgot to do it earlier. Pierre Schumann was starting number 1, then it was Dan Sheehan, Tyg Furlong, Scott Cummings, Joe McCarthy, Tyg Byrne, Josh Van der Fleer, Henry Pollock, Thomas Williams, Finn Russell, James Lowe, Sione Tuipulotu, Gary Ringrose, Mac Hansen, and Elliot Daly. And then on the bench there was Ronan Kelleher, Andrew Porter, Will Stewart, Ollie Chesham, Jack Conan, Alex Mitchell, Hugh Jones, and Marcus Smith. That was the bench. So I'm going to go through every player now and give them a rating out of 10, like I did 2 weeks ago, if you remember, with the players in the Argentina game. So Pierre Schumann, I'm going to give a 5. He didn't really do much at all in the game. Like, the scrum was a bit of a mess, so I guess a 5. He didn't do anything of notice for me. 2, Dan Sheehan, I'm going to give him a 7 or 8. I'll give him a 7 because he was class, but for his standard, I think it was a 7. He may have scored an amazing try, but the line-out wasn't particularly great. That wasn't a result of his throws, but yeah, I think a 7 is a fair score for Dan Sheehan. 3, Tyg Furlong. I guess 6, probably. Like, I remember 1 involvement from him, but again, not anything to shout home about. 4, Scott Cummings, 4. 4 out of 10. Very poor, I thought. Gave away a lot of penalties. Didn't really do anything overly impressive for me. Was pinged a few times, caught offside a few times. He just, for some reason, it didn't suit him on the day. 5, Joe McCarthy. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. Unbelievable from McCarthy. I mean, he won man of the match, but just the stuff around the park, in the malls, he was unreal. Around the field, he was unreal. He was an amazing workhorse, and yeah, I think he's really put his name in with the shout for starting in the lock pairings in one of the tests at least. Then 6, Tyke Byrne. What will I give Tyke Byrne? I think a 6, to be honest. Again, not his greatest game. He was good, but he doesn't really get to do what he's used to when he plays 6. When he's out of those lock positions, he doesn't get as many turnover opportunities. He has to be just more of a bit of a workhorse, so a lot of his work goes unnoticed, but I think a 6 is fair, even by his standard. I didn't think he was particularly amazing. 7, Van der Fleer. I'm going to give an 8. Thought Van der Fleer was class. Could have been in with a shout for man of the match. I thought he was great. He did a lot of off the ball work, which was class, and I think in and around the rucks he was fantastic. And I think an 8's a fair score for him. I'm going to give Henry Pollock a 7. The reason I'm not giving Pollock an 8 is because I feel like a lot of the good work he did was dampened by his pretty poor, work in terms of getting a yellow card. He gave away a few penalties early on, but he really balanced that out later on. But I think Van der Fleer and Byrne allowed him to be so free and to get those breaks and do what Pollock does best. But yeah, he's really put him in with a shout to start in the 23 in at least one of the tests, I would argue. But I guess we'll just have to see. Thomas Williams, I'm going to give an 8. Before he got injured, he was class. I think an 8's a fair score, and I'm really sorry to see him go. 10, Finn Russell. I'm going to give Russell an 8 as well. Russell, I thought, was really, really good. I thought he was great around the park. Some great kicks. He had 1 or 2 kicks that didn't deliver, but I think he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't 100% from the tee, but he only missed 1. I think an 8's a fair score. Not he was world beating, but I think by his standard an 8 out of 10 is a fair score for him. 11, James Lowe. I'm going to give Lowe an 8 as well. Lowe was really good. He was given some pretty bad passes and some squeaky bum things to deal with, and he dealt with it calmly. He was really unlucky at one kick where it bounced the wrong side of the try line, so it went back to where it was kicked, but it could have been the best 50-22 I've ever seen. It just unfortunately wasn't. But other than that, I think Lowe was just great around the park. Sione Tuipulotu. I will give Sione Tuipulotu a 7. I think he was great. He wasn't as active as maybe you'd expect, but he was just a workhorse, and he had a lot of great passes, a lot of great passages of play as well. I think he was great. Now, I do think he'll start in the test over my beloved Bundy. He just offers a small bit more. He's a lot younger. And I might be wrong there, but I just think he will. I actually think this will be the centre pairing for the tests, which is Gary Ringrose and Tuipulotu. I just think Ringrose is unreal. Yeah, Ringrose score I'm going to give. Some people gave Ringrose slack because he was flying off the line and allowing breaks to happen, but he always made up for it. So I'm going to give Ringrose a 7 out of 10 as well. Ringrose was class, I felt. Defensively unbelievable. Now this one's controversial. I have seen so many people praise Mac for this performance. So many pundits. And as much as I'd love to agree with them fully, I just can't. I understand Mac Hansen's work rate was unbelievable off the ball. I understand he was trying his best and he was very good in the second half, but that first half was absolutely atrocious. Some people are giving him 8s out of 10s, 9s out of 10s. I was about to say 5 out of 10. I'll bump it to a 6 just because of some of the things he did in that second half. Like kicking the ball, winning it back and forcing a knock on about 40 metres. About a 40 metre kick I thought was unbelievable work rate. He had 2 try assists, but again, I don't think he was as great as even he would have liked. And I don't know, I feel like a 6 out of 10 is fair for Hansen for some of the, poor decisions he made in the game. And the knock-ons as well. 15, Elliot Daly. I'm going to give Elliot Daly a 7 out of 10. Again, very, very solid performance from Daly. Considering people, including me, were questioning his place on the tour, he's really proved those people wrong. Now, unfortunately, he's injured, but, in the games he's played, he's proved everyone wrong that doubted him. Then on the bench, 16, Ronan Kelleher. What should I give Kelleher? I will give Kelleher a 6. He didn't really do that much of note. I think a 6 is fair. Like, he didn't do anything wrong, really. He had some good carries, good work at the rucks. Other than that, though, I think a 6 is fair. He didn't do anything of notice. 17, Andrew Porter. Porter was fine. He came off the bench as 6 as well. Like, nothing really wrong, Although they won a few scored penalties, didn't they? Yeah, I think I'll stick with a 6. Stewart, I'll give a 6 as well. Will Stewart, I think 6 is fair. Again, didn't really do much of note. Now, I missed the last 10 minutes of this game, but I watched it back and I don't think I really missed much, so I think it's a fair score. Ollie Chesham. Ollie Chesham is 7, I think. I really rate Chesham. I love Chesham. I think a 7 is fair for his cameo, basically off the bench. 20, Jack Conan. Conan is 6. Conan was not great off the bench, but Conan is not a bench player. He starts or he doesn't play at all for me. I think a 6 is fair. 21, Alex Mitchell. I thought Mitchell was not great when he came out. I think a 6 as well for Mitchell. I think that's a fair score. 6 for Mitchell. Like, he got a try, of course, but I just thought his work wasn't amazing from what I've seen in that game. 22, Hugh Jones. I think a 6 as well for Hugh Jones. Good intercept, which didn't really, it's led to a good kick, but I don't think Jones got much time to really show what he could do in that game, so I think a 6 is fair. 23, Marcus Smith. I think a 6 as well for Smith. Maybe a 7. No, I'll go with a 6. He wasn't on his best, but he still got, a try assist in there, so I think a 6 is fair. So those are my scores for the Western Force game. Obviously the Lions dominated on the scoreboard, but I don't think it fully reflected the game. Not that it made much of a difference, but yeah, I think, the Lions still weren't free-flowing. And they weren't free-flowing in the Queensland Reds game either, but they were definitely not free-flowing back in 2013 when they played the Reds, because just going through this game, they really gave the Lions a tough time. So moving swiftly on for those Western Force games, let's get on to the 2013 Lions game against the Queensland Reds. Similar to this tour, it was also the second game they played down under. Western Force was also the first game they played down under in 2025 and 2013. So that part of the tour remained mainly the same in terms of scheduled fixtures. But the Lions lineup here was a bit different too against Western Force, but still a very strong side. So, Stuart Hogg starting fullback. Best said about that the better, really. Alex Cuthbert, that's how you say it. Manu Tuolangi, Jonathan Davies, Tommy Bowe, Owen Farrell, Ben Youngs, Maku Vinacola, Tom Youngs. Did I just say Tom Youngs? Ben Youngs. I thought I was doing it twice there. Matt Stevens, Richie Gray, Jeff Perling, Dan Lydiate, Sam Warburton, and Toby Faletau. Faletau's unreal, by the way, lads. I love Faletau. He was even in with a shout for this tour, believe it or not. Old man Faletau. Still rate him. He's class. Even for Cardiff currently, I think he's unreal. Then the bench was Richard Hibbard, Dan Cole, Adam Jones, Paul O'Connell, Justin Tibrick, Conor Murray, Jonathan Sexton, and George North. People, by the way, saying Tibrick was useless. I've seen this new wave saying Tibrick was never a good player. Absolute madness. I love Justin Tibrick. Or at least, I used to love Justin Tibrick. He's retired now. Not retired, he still plays for Ospreys, right? But I think he retired this season. But yeah, I liked Tibrick. And yeah, the game ended 22-12 to the Lions. Now, this was a very, very good game. Very tough game for the Lions. They had, I think, 2 tries chalked off. I think it was actually 2 by Owen Farrell as well. Definitely 1 by Owen Farrell because they believed he hadn't grounded up the line. He'd knocked it on, which was fair. The Lions only scored 1 try in this game. So this was a warm-up game, and yet they took the points every opportunity they had because the Queensland Reds were pushing against them really hard. Now, the main difference between this tour and the 2013 tour was that there's very few players being released from the Australian camp to play the Lions in this tour, whereas in 2013 nearly all the players were released to play for their provincial sides, which made the provincial sides a lot tougher, a lot more stocked up, especially the Queensland Reds. And this year they didn't really have a lot of those internationals released, so you've seen very few, big name players. Now, there was some players that stepped up in the Lions game this year for the Queensland Reds, but in 2013 a lot of their internationals were there. And the Queensland Reds, why am I struggling to say that, put it right up to the Lions for the full 80 minutes. I mean, on the 65th or so minute they scored their second try to make it 12-19. And then they could have drew the game, but Farrell scored, I believe, 6 penalties or so. No, not 6 penalties. 5 penalties, I think. So, with that, the score ended 22-12. Queensland Reds, as I said, they got a good try in the 65th minute, and they got one in the first half, which just, put the icing on the cake. It was probably the tightest game, as well as the best game of the warm-up games for the 2013 tour. Definitely had the biggest bite about it, which, I mean, they were also the last provincial side in Australia to beat the Lions on a tour back in 1971, so there was a big gap, and that gap is still to be filled. Obviously Argentina beat the Lions at this tour, but not an Australian club side. They have not yet beaten the Lions in, well, I mean, it's 54 years now, so that'll just tell you, I guess, that the Australian club sides just can't handle the Lions, whereas a few South African and New Zealand sides have beaten them. That's not a strain on Australia, I'm just saying the facts as it is, But, I mean, the game, Farrell was good, but also bad in this game, from what I was saying. Like I said, the team there, it was a very strong team still. There's so many legends on that 2013 tour, and it was the last Lions tour that they actually managed to win. In 2017, they drew with New Zealand, and in 2021, they lost to South Africa. So this was the last big, test that the Lions actually won. And with the legends you see on it, it just kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like, you just see all the players that played for the Lions here, and I'm not saying it's more starstruck, but a lot of these players went on to retire, and you look back on their careers and it's legendary. I guess with the Lions side now, there's a lot of legends that retired maybe a few years ago, and there's a lot of newer blood in this Lions side, or players that still aren't quite at retiring age. So I guess maybe we'll look back in a few years and say how many legends were on this team as well, but that's just from me. But yeah, the Reds put up a good fight, but it wasn't enough in the end. The Lions did prosper, and maybe it should have been tighter, but who knows? I might be just dead wrong there. You can tell me that the Lions actually did deserve to, that the Reds did deserve to beat the Lions, but from watching the game, even though they put up a really, really good fight, I think the Lions, for the most part, were in control for most of it. But yeah, that brings us on to the most recent Lions game, the 2020, well, when this is going out, they will have played the Waratahs, but this brings us on to the most recent Lions fixture that has been played when I'm recording this, which is against the Queensland Reds in 2025. So let's just take a look and go through that game, and I'll give player ratings again for that game, and then I'll wrap up the podcast. So looking at the Reds game versus the Lions from 2025, the lineup first, I'll say, before I go through the game this time, because, that was a bit of an error from me, but the lineup for the Lions in 2025 was number 1, Porter, 2, Kelleher, 3, Will Stewart, 4, Itoje, 5, Chesham, 6, Tom Curry, 7, Jack Morgan, 8, Jack Conan. And then in the backs, we had 9 Gibson Park, 10 Finn Russell, 12 Aki, 13 Hugh Jones, 11 Van der Merwe, 15 Keenan, and 14 Freeman. Then the replacements, Luke Cowan-Dickey, 16, Ellis Genge, 17, Finlay Bealham, 18, James Ryan, 19, 20 Ben Earl, 21 Mitchell, 22 Finn Smith, 23 Ringrose. That's a pretty strong contingent, that's, well, some people are saying it was like the closest to a test tour we got, but I'm not sure about that, lads, but let's go through the game anyway. So the Queensland Reds actually struck first after the Lions had one scuffed opportunity. So the Reds went over in the corner in the 9th minute, and, it was a pretty good try, well worked. The Reds were way more physical than the Western Force. Well, in the first half they were anyway. They definitely put it up to our forwards in the first half, that's for sure. Then the Lions were it was a comedy of errors from the Lions for until the 19th minute. It took them 12 minutes to respond, where Tommy Freeman got a try eventually. And Daly gave a great pass to Tommy Freeman. He went over pretty much just below the sticks. Then Van der Merwe had a disaster. So after that, there was a pass to Van der Merwe, or there was a kick to Van der Merwe, and for some reason he decided to try and run it from his own try line. Nearly made an absolute mockery of it, but he still got it out. But I'll get on to Van der Merwe with the player ratings later on. Then the Reds reply in the 27th minute through Josh Fluke. It's, again, a very good try, but it's not like they had to work too hard for it. It was too easy from the Lions' point of view. The defence was off it in the first half. Second half it tightened up. And it didn't take the Lions as long. It took them 2 minutes to respond to this with a try through Andrew Porter. It was a pretty good try, but they were knocking at the door for a while and just kept getting it wrong. Then The Reds went 15 phases, and then they decided to box kick it back to the Lions. Van der Merwe manages to get a try somehow. Sorry, lads. I'm not even hating on him, but this performance was not good for him. He got a try, he powered over. Well, I say powered over, but pretty good finish in fairness. Then it's 21-12 to the Lions, obviously. Finn Russell is 100% from the boot at this point, with some great work from him. Again, another great game from the 10 jersey is his in the test tours, that's for sure. Or maybe even to Owen Farrell now. I guess we'll see. Mara Toje scores the next try. It's another great try. It was 28-12. Sorry, that was at halftime. It was 21-12 to the Lions. Then we came back after halftime. Gibson Park and Bundy Aki ran a great line. Aki had a great line, a great pass through Toje. He finishes it off, and it's a great try. Then Will Stewart gets replaced. The whole front row gets replaced. Actually, the starting front row did not have a very good game, I thought, in this game. Then Jack Morgan gets a try. He was exceptional in this game, and he gets a well-earned try. I thought it was great. Then you've Tommy Freeman. He came in with a great try as well on the 61st minute. It's his second try. Great try from him. Finn Smith and Alex Mitchell on at this point. Thought it was great. I think the two of them did great when they came on, to be fair. Mitchell was a lot better in this game than against Western Force. So then Hugh Jones gets a try for the Lions once again. Well, not once again, sorry. I mean, the Lions get a try again. This is Hugh Jones' first try. It's a great little line by him. He gets an intercept. I thought it was a great try, great run. He looked gassed after it. Then, the Lions are kind of messing around again for the last couple of minutes. And in the 85th minute, Gary Ringrose scores a try, which I think it's good. They didn't just decide to kick it out. It was nice to decide to keep on playing. So it ends 12 points to the Reds and the Lions 52 points. To contrast it to the game in 2013, the only difference is the Lions scored 30 more points here. The Reds are not as strong as they were back in 2013, but it also didn't help that their Wallabies weren't really released, bar one or two. If they had the full Wallaby side, I think it would have at least been maybe 15 points closer, maybe. I might be wrong there, but still, I thought it was a bit of a disaster, to be honest, from the Reds after such a strong start. The Lions just powered through, which is more cohesion with the Lions, to be fair, but still, I thought the Queensland Reds would put up a bit more of a fight. I just thought they'd have a bit more in them, But maybe that's just me. So, time for the player ratings. Now, I'm going to go through it one by one, as I did with the Western Force. So I'll start with Porter. I'm going to give Porter a 6. He scored a try. Didn't really do a whole lot wrong. The scrum was kind of a mess at times, but it did start to dominate towards the end. Kelleher, 2. I'm going to give Kelleher 5. I don't think he impressed me at all. He wasn't particularly good around the park, but to be honest, it was the poorest performance I've seen from Kelleher in a long time, in general. And it wasn't even that bad, but it was really, really poor. Will Stewart, I'm going to give it 3. I thought Stewart was extremely shockingly poor. His side of the scrum struggled. He gave away some silly penalties. He's passing. His work rate was off, like he was just standing in the wrong places at the wrong time. Will Stewart really let himself down, I felt, in that game. Maybe a 3 is harsh. I'll give him a 4. Yeah, I think a 4 is a bit fairer, but I think he was still very, very poor. Itoje, a whole lot better than he was against Argentina. I think an 8 for Itoje. I thought he was very, very good. Chesham, a 7? Chesham gets a 7. It says Chesham was good, but in that first half, Itoje and Chesham looked suspect, but in the second half they were really, really, really good. And Itoje was very good after like the 20th minute. But the forwards, I don't think we're expecting such a physical battle from the Reds early on, because they looked a bit shell-shocked. But then when they got into it and started muscling them back, they really took control. Itoje and Chesham led the line for that, though. 6, Tom Curry. Curry was poor again. 4 out of 10. Curry was very poor. I thought for his standard, shocking. He didn't do anything that impressed me. I thought he was doing all the wrong things in the wrong space. I think he set up a try at one point though, but like in general for his standard, lads, from the standard I keep hearing about him, it has to be a 4. He was very poor. Jack Morgan, a 9. Jack Morgan was class, lads. He was everywhere. He was unreal. Conan, and 7? Maybe an 8. I'll put a 7 because he wasn't the flashiest, but he did his job really, really well. He just is an out and out 8. He doesn't take any glory. He just does his job, goes in, gets out. I think it was great. I think 7. Yeah, I'll give him a 7. Bordering an 8. But a very solid performance from Conan. Then Gibson Park, I'll give a 6. Gibson Park was poor, I thought, for his standard again. I think a 6 is fair. He just hasn't been the same since the Wales game really in the Six Nations. I think Gibson Park has been pretty poor since then, to be honest. It's just he hasn't been given the best delivery. He looks tired. He's showing his age with his pace. He's still a very, 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 very good rugby player, but by the standard I've seen him reach, he hasn't impressed me in this game in particular. But he is just back from injury, so I'm sure he'll only get better. Finn Russell at 10, I'll give Russell an 8. Like Russell is getting the 10 jersey. There's no debate there for me. I think, yeah, Russell at 10, I think I'll give him an 8. I think an 8 is fair again. Aki, 6. Aki didn't really. Neither of the centres impressed me, to be fair, today. I don't think this combo worked for me. I think a 6 from Aki is fair. Maybe even bordering a 5. He just wasn't on his usual game today, and I'm a Connacht fan, so I'm always going to back Aki, but he just didn't have his best game, so I think I think a 6 is a fair score. Hugh Jones, I'll give a 6 as well. Just again, poor at times. The centres just really weren't on it weren't on it in the game, and I think 2 6s. I could even give 2 5s, but I'll give 2 6s. I'll be generous. 11 Van der Merwe, 4 awful. The difference is, right, he scored a try, but that doesn't gloss over the terrible and just poor work rate from him. I thought he was really poor, and yes, I don't like Van der Merwe, but my point being here is that I've seen him be at a lot higher standard in other games, including Lions games. He was not on it today at all. I think a 4 again. I think he's riding himself out at the test jerseys. Lowe will walk into that team. Freeman, I think, might start the tests, but I'll get on to Freeman now. I'll give Freeman a 8 out of 10. Freeman was very, very good, I felt. Knocked on a few balls, but his work rate and then just the tries he scored, and I just think he's a fantastic winger. I think an 8. It's a good performance from Keenan. Well, Keenan actually pulled out through injury. I'm just looking at the lineup here. So, Daly came in, so I'll give Daly. I will give Daly I'll give Daly a 8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10. I thought he was really good under pressure, and he was really good in general. I thought he gave a good account of himself. Good score. Actually, he didn't score in that game, but he gave a good account of himself, and unfortunately he got injured, but I thought he did really well. I thought Daly had a good tour, even though he got injured early. He can definitely go out with his head held high. Same with Thomas Williams. Some of the best players on this tour so far are getting injured, which is a bit worrying. But Luke Cowan-Dickey, he didn't really do much when he came on. 5, 6. He didn't really do that much wrong, so I'll give him a 6. Genge and Beelum, I'm telling you lads, these should be the starting. Genge I'll give a 7, Beelum I'll give a 7. Both of them really solid when they came on. No errors. Well, Beelum knocked on one ball, but no errors. Great at the scrum. Just great from them in general. I think the two of them have to start the tests. I don't want to hear anything about Furlong, lads. Beelum's in better form. Get over it. I don't care about the highs of Furlong if the current standard of Beelum is better than his. James Ryan, 19, 6. Yeah, didn't really do much. None of the bench players had a huge impact, bar Mitchell and Smith, which I'll get on to in a minute. Ryan is 6, he didn't really do anything wrong, didn't really do anything right. Earl, 6 as well, he didn't particularly impress me, but he didn't do anything wrong either. And he's even playing as 12 at one point, so I'll give him a 6 just for that alone. Alex Mitchell, I'll give Alex Mitchell a 8 out of 10. I thought he had a very good game when he came on. To be honest, he was better than Gibson Park in this game. And I was only slandering Alex Mitchell, saying he was very poor in the Western Force game, but he stepped up in this one. Maybe that's because he knew there was he had a risk there of being written out of the test if he didn't have big performances, and he really clicked this game, especially when he had Finn Smith on his outside. Finn Smith I thought was great as well. I'll give him a 7. I thought he had a good performance when he came on, controlled the game as Finn Smith tends to do. Ringrose, 23. I'll give Ringrose I'll give him a 7. Why not? He scored a try, didn't do anything wrong. Ringrose is the starting 13 for me, and Tuipulotu the starting 12. We've seen from this game, I don't think Bundy and Jones works out. I don't think Jones is better than Ringrose. I think Tuipulotu's in better form than Bundy. So I think Tuipulotu starts at 12 and Ringrose on his outside. I get the argument that Jones and Tuipulotu do great things together for Scotland. I don't really care. I think Ringrose is better than Jones at the minute. And if we're picking our best 15, I think Ringrose goes 13, Tuipulotu goes 12. But yeah, that was my analysis breakdown and, cover of both the Lions v Western Force and Queensland Reds games from 2013 and 2025. Let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate it 5 stars on Spotify, or like the video if you're on YouTube. And also, please consider following my TikTok accounts and, all of my accounts. The link should be in the bio of my YouTube. If you're on Spotify, you can find it on TikTok at Merc_talks_rugby. On Instagram, I am the same, Merc_talks_rugby. And on Twitter, I am the same, or X, sorry, I am Merc_talks_rugby. So, if you're enjoying my content, please consider following me on TikTok in particular. That's where I'm the most active. I'm always live on there. I, make videos that you can agree or debate. And if you disagreed with anything I said about the player ratings or anything like that, comment on my Spotify, comment on my TikTok, message me anywhere, and I'd love to talk to you guys and hear your different opinions. And also give me any feedback you have or criticisms of this podcast so far, because I'll always take it on board. But thank you guys for listening. This was the Rugby Dummy Podcast, and bye.